Good morning. This morning I just want to talk about the kids. Um, in this situation right now, um, we tend to talk about the kids. We tend to understand that the kids have things that they're going through. What we don't always understand though is that what they show isn't really what they're feeling. That sometimes they're putting up a front like they're okay, but they're not really okay. And they can see how mom's acting, and how mom is uh, treating this sacred thing that God calls marriage. And they can see how dad is acting and how dad is treating this sacred thing that God calls marriage. These vows, these things that God says are of the utmost importance, that we should not make them without being certain that we can repay. And sometimes these things happen, and they look and say, you're supposed to be a Christian, and yet you're completely not following your own vow. You're not keeping your promises that you made to God and to mom or to dad. And I have children, and this is a struggle. And I'm the one standing in this relationship, in this marriage, and I'm doing all to stand. And I'm going to be honest with you. My goal right now, in regards to my children, is for them to look at me and see what stability looks like. I didn't have that really when I was growing up. My mother and father got divorced, and it was pretty much, it was done. There was no standing. There was no, standing for our marriage. There was none of that. There was none of that with with my parents. And I'm not, saying anything bad about my mother on this. She was the one who, stayed with us, and kept us and raised us. But there was none of that. There was a lot of crying, and a lot of there was time of being upset, but there was no, I'm going to stand, I'm going to hope, I'm going to be here until that, once it was done, it was done. I want my kids to see what it looks like for someone to care so much about marriage that he's willing to put everything on the line, that he's willing to put everything aside for that, because it's a sacred covenant, it's a sacred vow that was made, and that means so much to me because it's what God says that matters. It's not me. This is not about me. It's never been really about me. Regardless of how things look, it's really about God and about what He says, what His Word says. And I just want to show here, I'm in Hebrews chapter 4, and I'm going to start here in 14. Seeing then that we have a great high priest that has passed into the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold fast our profession. For we have not an high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin. So we don't have a faith where there's a God who knows nothing about what we're going through. No, Jesus never got divorced. He was never married. But the point is, he understands grief. He understands loss. So he knows what we're going through. So then we can, this next verse just kind of sums it up. Let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. Is there a bigger time of need in a spouse's life, especially the standing spouse, or in a child's life when they're watching their parents, one parent stand for the marriage and the other parent basically treat the marriage like it doesn't matter, like it's worthless, like it's meaningless? Is there a bigger time of need for a child or for a parent than that moment? I don't believe there is. And what I want my kids to know is that we serve a God. We serve Jesus Christ, and he is sufficient for all their needs. So even if this comes out and the divorce is final and things go awry in all of this, even more than they already have, that they've got a God that they can go to. And it doesn't matter if they're here or if they're there, that the same God can supply them with all their need. That's not just their physical needs. That's not even just their spiritual needs. But to make it more of an understanding of a psychological standpoint, that's their emotional needs. They can help them. Jesus has the ability, God has the ability to give them what they need emotionally, so they can have stability in their daily life, in their spirit, and that's important. That's a very important thing. God tells us that he takes care of our physical needs. He tells us that he provides food, he provides raiment. Those are physical needs of ours. We don't need to worry about those things because God will take care of those things. But he also says in Philippians 4:19 that he meets all of our needs with his riches and glory. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Philippians 4:19. Ephesians. There's Philippians 4:19. But my God shall supply all your need according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus. So he will supply all the need. And that includes our spiritual needs. That includes our emotional needs. So what I want, and this is really the whole point of this whole Bible study and this whole thing here that we're doing, what I want is for my kids to know. And I want them to see it in me because I'm the representation right now of Jesus Christ in their lives. I want them to see in me the stability, the steadfastness that God gives in time of trouble, in the time when things are the hardest, in the time when things are the worst in our entire family's existence. I want them to see steadfastness and strength that doesn't come from me, but it comes from Jesus Christ. I can do all things through Christ who strengtheneth me, or which strengtheneth me. I can do all things, and I do it through Christ because he is my strength. And I want them to see that. When they look at me, when they look at their other parent, their mother, I want them to look at me and say, okay, he cares about this. Not necessarily because it's benefiting him, because right now there is no benefit to me. So not because it's benefiting him, But he cares about this because it matters to God. Because God said, love your wife as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. He's willing to give all. And I want them to look at me and be able to see that. Because God says that marriage is honorable. I want them to see that in me. That it matters, not because it matters, not because it's doing anything for me, but because it's what God says. Because when they look at the other side, right now, it means nothing. Right now, when they look at it, they see something. They see somebody who looks at it and says it's nothing. It's worthless. So I want to make sure that when they look at their two parents, that they're really seeing one parent who says, this has value because God says it has value. And we can talk about the value. We can look at the value all throughout the Bible, where God uses marriages in parables. He talks about the husbands and the wives throughout the Bible. And there's value there. So I hope this is helpful. This is not meant to be a dig on her or I'm trying to think of this is not meant to say anything negative about my wife. I don't believe that's who she is. I believe she is. I believe she's a much sweeter person than what things look like right now in my life. I believe there's spirits involved in this. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and rulers of this world. And that's what we wrestle against. I'm not wrestling against her. I'm wrestling against the devils that are not controlling her, but influencing her. So I hope this helps somebody. I love you. And I hope you can get some encouragement.